Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first, and I've got the Q and the U, which is good. Do I have a 5-letter play? Placing the Q on the double letter square. I do. I have quats, which takes an S in front. I think this is the only play which puts the Q on a double letter square. 48 points. Well, that's pretty good, given what I started with as a rack leave. I think cleeping is good as a 7-letter word. Doesn't play at the moment. Cleeping doesn't take an S. And cleeping may not be good, but I think it is. I'll certainly play it if I can. Now I'm looking at the floaters in quats to see if I've got an 8-letter bingo. Nothing with the Q or the U. The A looks promising. My opponent places an R underneath it, I would have parceling. Can't see anything with the T. Right. Okay, so I can't see anything through the floaters in quats, can't see anything with the V. My bingo doesn't play. So, what to do? I could play Sig underneath quats, which takes out the S hook. Rack leave of ELNP is not great. I could play clip in the same spot, leaving EGN. It's tempting to hang on to ING, but that's not a fabulous rack leave, and there isn't an easy way of doing that. So let me have a look at clip. The N and the G have some synergy. This is balanced in terms of vowels and consonants. Yep, I think that's okay. Via does take an L after it, but I can't see a way of using that to good effect. Wow, draw a blank, that's pretty good. Oncogen is good, that plays at A8 down onto the S of quats. Oncogen also takes an E, and up takes an O at the end, so Oncogen plays in row J underneath up. So hopefully one of those two will remain available. Great. Make the first the blank the first O to maximise score. And I'll just check that my opponent hasn't opened up a better spot for Oncogens. For example, a double. No, Uppo does take an N at the end, but Oncogens doesn't play underneath that. 83 points. And that's pretty good. Through an I would have Shania. And I've got the O. Well, I've got ranchers through the C of Oncogens. Fantastic. That would be really good if that stays available. Back-to-back bingos is always gives you a boost, and usually a good lead. Opponent has blocked ranchers. Is there an anagram beginning with C? Don't think Charners is good. I've got ranchers through the C of clip. Fantastic. Oh, and look at that. It places the H on the triple letter square. Okay, it's not that exciting because it doesn't quite reach the double word square. But it's still good to get a back-to-back bingo down. Rancher's 73. And again, pretty good, but perhaps not a bingo here. If there is a bingo, it may be difficult to spot with all the duplicates. So I've got Rattler, which isn't good. Sometimes it's helpful to think about non-words to help form, to trigger anagrams in your mind. Elogize, yep, I think that's good. My opponent's provided, well, some very useful floaters. In particular, the I and the E. Now, what about ladderer? Ladderer. Gosh. Well, I think it's good. And I'm going to play it here to get the word doubled, even though... Okay, I was going to say even though it opens up a 9-timer, it doesn't. But ladderer, 76, is that good? I think it is. I'm not sure why I think it's good. It will be a word that's in my card books, but I would normally have more doubt than I do about a word ending ER, but I feel reasonably confident about this. Oh well, famous last words. And the bingo run certainly has ended, but I've got good scoring tiles in the J and the Z. Just waiting to see if this comes off, and it does. Ah. Okay, so I've still got a 110-point lead. Gosh, I wonder why I was confident about that. Now, I'm sure Rattler isn't good. If it was, it would play onto the S of Elogize. Ah, it is a shame. It would have been nice to have had the J and the Z to work with. So I need to focus back on this rack. Okay, good score for my opponent. I'm looking to see if I can use the triple word square at 01, beginning at K1 with a D, but I can't. I can't play parallel and underneath Elogize because I don't have anything to go underneath the S. Now I could play Dread at C3 down. Rackley's pretty awful, LR. But what would be a good Rackley? Reed would be, but that would mean playing off DLR. Which I could do. I could play Lord for only 7 points. 26 points for Dread. I think I'd rather take the points. Now, am I missing something? Well, Elogize would take a D at the end. Well, maybe Raddle would be better than... Raddle or Ladder would resolve the keeping L and R, which is not a good combination. Is there anywhere good to play Ladder? I could play Cladder in row C. And one good thing about this is that it's providing an abundance of floaters. So it means that there's more than one hotspot on the board, which should increase my chances of keeping the scoring rolling along. 24 points. Now, I don't think I have a bingo. It would be a low probability one if I do. But I've got 4 scoring tiles. IMY is good, IMMY. Not sure if there's anywhere to play that. I don't think Primmy is good. Otherwise that would play at L1. Cladder, I think, only takes an S at the end, not a Y. Yeah, I don't think there's a bingo here. It would be good to play off, well, certainly the Y and one of the M's. Actually, a play of MY somewhere keeping prime would be pretty good. So I could play, well, I was going to say Yam at this, but my opponent's just taken that spot. But he has provided a spot for me to play my here. 33 points, it's a good score, and this is a very robust rack leave. And on a board with a lot of floaters, this is quite promising. And I duplicate tiles in my rack leave, both of them. Both of the tiles I drew duplicated tiles I held, which is disappointing. A Prismia is good, I think, which would play in column 12 through the S of Elogize. And I'm wondering if it's Prismia or Primsia. So it's something to think about. Not sure I'm going to resolve that. So is there something better which I'm sure of? I do have a good lead, 115 points. But it's still going to be painful playing phonies. Okay, my opponent hasn't taken the opportunity away from me. So, what do I do? Prismia or Primsia? I think Prismia is good, but it may not compare. Now what would be bad would be to play Primsia, have it challenged off, and have the spot remain available, because I wouldn't be sure about playing Primsia. I certainly wouldn't want to play back-to-back phonies and 3 phonies in a game. That would be pretty poor. Now, Prismia for 80. Do I have other bingos? I don't think Primia is good. Okay, I am going to try this, but I do have some doubt. Again, if it stays on, I've got a nice rack. I'm just waiting for this to disappear. Ah, gosh. Okay. So, Primsia. Not sure. Looking around at other floaters in case there's a bingo I have more certainty about. I've got quite a few useful prefixes with this rack. I've got Perry, keeping RIM, and Pre, keeping MIRI, and Imp and Im. So through an A I would have Impera. So, okay, firstly, is there anything through the H? And secondly, do I try Prismia? Primsia. I am going to try this. I am ahead. Now, my opponent may not have blocked this because he knows it's not good, or he may think that I don't know it because otherwise I would have played it. Now, if this stays on through an H, I would have Autobahn, but the H of both isn't quite in the right spot. Okay, agonizing moments. So, what else is there? Very difficult to focus on your rack. Great, it's good, fantastic. Okay. Well, that's always good when that happens. It's very easy to become discouraged or doubtful, or to feel that you haven't got your head in the game. But you need to try and really focus and play your best regardless of what's happened on previous moves. Now, I've got a good lead, 150 points. Apart from Autobahn, I can't see an 8-letter bingo. I don't think I've got a 7. But it's a balanced rack. I've got a scoring tile in the B, so I'm looking to play off the B, one of my A's, and certainly the U. So play of about would be fine. Or a booner. There's 3 A's left, so although the A is a good tile, I don't have to needlessly I don't have to sacrifice points to hang on to it. Both H's have gone, so Autobahn isn't going to become available. Now the Uppo N hook is still available, but I can't see anything good starting at K1. That would take out the playing from K1 across to K5 would stop my opponent scoring well at O1. Now both blanks have gone. I can see the tiles in the bag. There's 21 tiles in the bag, 7 on my opponent's rack. There are 3 high-scoring tiles in the J, the X and the Z. And it's quite an open board, so there could be some good scores still to come. There's nowhere obvious to play my tiles. I'm looking to see if I can place my B at L1, just a simple word beginning BR. But I can't see how to play off the A and the U if I do that. No, I could play urban across here. Now, the trouble with that is that I'm keeping it slightly vowel heavy. Slightly vowel heavy. If I played turban, it would be even heavier on vowels. And also, the score is low, 21 points. I think I can do better than that. I'm looking in column 3. I've got the A for going after or. I can't see a 5-letter play with the A in that position and playing off the tiles I want to play off. I don't mind keeping a slightly vowel-heavy rack because the high-scoring tiles, the J, the X and the Z, go well with vowels. But I'd like to get a little bit more points than 21. Gosh, this is proving troublesome. I'm not in time trouble yet. But I don't wish to get into time trouble on what is really not a particularly difficult rack to deal with. So a play about somewhere, keeping AN would be much better in terms of rack leave. Well, about and ought. My opponent's a long way behind, not out of sight, but he really needs bingos to catch up. So a play of about is opening up, well, it's opening up a really good spot at a4 down. It's only 17 points. I want to score more than that. Gosh. What am I going to do? Okay, the time is slipping away, so I need to make a decision. What about tuba? 15 points. Okay, well, these are all rubbish scores. So I'm going to go back to urban. Maybe there weren't any fabulous plays available. Great, I draw one of the high-scoring tiles, and it goes well with the with vowels, so I don't have to worry about being slightly vowel-heavy. So where can I play my J to good effect? Okay, 60 points for my opponent, not a huge score. I can play jaw at N10. That's not bad. Only 8 tiles left. So this is what I'm thinking of. 26 points. It's difficult to play off the J and the V, but the V's actually not a bad tile. It's a scoring tile in the end game. Now what I'm concerned about is if I'm missing out on the opportunity to score 40 or 50 points. Now J does take an A, and there are 3 A's left, so I am opening up row O. And I'm so far ahead that I'm not expecting my opponent to catch me. And if he doesn't take row O, I can. So I've got a vow if he doesn't play in that spot. And I've also got wove or weave in column 3. I don't think I have a bingo with this rack, so certainly not worth looking for one. 6 tiles in the bag, so we're getting very close to the end of the game. I'm looking around for good spots for my V or my W. If I had a U, I would have vrow at B14, V-R-O-U-W, which is quite an unusual word. I no longer have the N for placing underneath upho, but there are 2 N's unseen, so I may draw one. Now Wat takes an S and a T in front. I have a T. I'm looking at A10. If I had a 6-letter word beginning with T, that could play up there. Wove. I'm looking at wove in column 3, 23 points. Vor is also good. I could play that in column 3, making aura and door. 27 points. Okay, and there's still 2 high-scoring tiles left, the X and the Z. And look at the vowels. There's actually a real vowel shortage in the unseen tiles. There's only 4 of them, which is good. My opponent may have a lot less flexibility than I've got, and it also means that my slight vowel surfeit is not a problem. It's unlikely to get worse. It's always tempting to think you've made an error when you play a word and your opponent bingos through a floater you've provided, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it is. I think my opponent was pretty close to a bingo and may have had alternative options. Now, anywhere else for my V or my W? I've got 6 minutes left, my opponent's got 9, so neither of us is in time trouble. I've got... I was going to say I've got weave in column 1 parallel to ranchers. I only have 1 E and I would need 2. So I don't think I've got a bingo beginning at K... not a bingo, a triple word square play beginning at K1. I don't have to play off the V and the W in one go. Awito is a nice 5-letter word. Now, if my opponent is short of vowels, he may be struggling to use the spot underneath the J. He may not have an A. If he does have an A, he may not be able to reach... Oh, gosh. Now, he's in a very interesting position because there is literally only one vowel in the remaining unseen tile. So he's either got one vowel or no vowels. That's not great for him. Now, let me see what this scores. 27 points is a good score. 3 tiles left, so I'm emptying the bag. I don't think that's a problem. My opponent is not going to be bingoing. But the problem with emptying the bag isn't that your opponent may bingo, or not just that your opponent may bingo, it's that he now knows he can then plan an out in 2 in the way that he couldn't if there was a tile remaining in the bag. So, would it be... Well, in order to leave 1 in the bag, I'd have to play off just 2 tiles. And I don't think there's any great spots for that, or is there? 23 points. Yeah, I think I will leave 1 in the bag. I think it does put my opponent in a difficult position. So, unfortunately I don't draw the eye, which would have been nice. That may be an argument for playing off all 3 tiles. Very difficult to be sure. Scrabble is generally a pretty easy game. Strategically, you're mainly looking at score and rack cleave. That completely goes out the window in the end game when the game does become genuinely complicated. Anyway, fortunately, in this game I'm so far ahead that suboptimal moves in the end game is not going to change the result. Apart from being vowel light, the remaining tiles are actually quite friendly. Now, where can I score well with my Z? I've only got 4 minutes left, so I should be focusing on that. The V doesn't go well with the Z. A Vise is good with a Y, but I don't have a Y. Looking at the spot where I was thinking about playing Weave, I could play Zia there. 35 points, that's pretty good. I've got Toes at K1, T-O-A-Z-E. Burns off all my vowels, keeps a V and a G. I can play Vag at 07. Do I have a second spot for V and G? I'm only going to play that if I do. Don't think I do at the moment. V and G, well, you don't think of them as having synergy, but they make vag and veg and gov with both an O and a U. Good score for my opponent, but look at his rack, it's awful. He's not going out in 2. So what I'd like to do is go out in 2. This is what I'm thinking of. I'm going to put this down and have another look to see if I have 2 outs. So 52 points, big score. Can I go out with a V and a G? So I'm really looking around at all the vowels on the board. Veg doesn't play through the E of Primsia, nor does Gov coming down. So I've only got Vag at 07. Is my opponent going to block that? Well, he might. It would be nice to not give him the opportunity of blocking me. He may not block me, but even if I knew he was going to block me, this wouldn't necessarily make Toes a bad play, because Toes scores really well. 52 points is a big score. Now, the other problem with keeping the G and the V is not just not being able to go out, but my opponent sticking me with the V, which means that I'm unable to play it and he can go out at his leisure. No, I can play Vor at E3, so he can't block Vag and Vor. So I think I am going to go with the 52 points. Okay, slightly uneasy. I'd feel much happier if I had a guaranteed out in 2 spots. But 52 points is a lot. And I just can't see anywhere else which could score as much. The only possibility would be B14 next to the I of Zeiss, if I could play a 5-letter word, placing my Z at F14 on the triple letter square, so TR blank blank Z. I don't have the right vowels for true, so I'm going to play this. So at the moment, Vag is my only out, and if that's blocked, I play Vor at E3. Can't see anywhere else for my V. I'm looking around just in case I've overlooked something. And I'll need to see if my opponent provides an opportunity, but he's unlikely to because he doesn't have any vowels. Great, he has not blocked Vag. So I go out. And the final score, 353 to my opponent, 492 to me, a winning margin of 139 points. So pretty big win. Let's see what I missed. Now, oh wow, gosh. My opponent played a phony bingo, Elogize. Elogize spelled I-E-S is good. So that's pretty poor that I let that through. Anyway, let's get back to the beginning of this game. Quats, yeah, that was the best play. And here there were no bingos, and clip at I2 looks fine. Oncogens was the best bingo. Ranchers was the only bingo. And this is where I played Ladderer, and it wasn't good. Yeah, and the other alternatives were obviously better than a phony that gets challenged off. And here, larded or dard at B3. Okay, yeah, both of those were the type of word I was looking for, didn't find. Instead, I played the same tiles off, but for 6 fewer points. Primey at B14. Where's that? Oh, I see, coming through the R of Cladder. 40 points, that's a big score. What did I do? Well, my for 33. Actually, probably not very much between those because the rack leave after my is a lot better. This is where I played Prismia and missed Primsia, but fortunately was able to play it next go. About at J1. Oh, interesting. Coming down column 1, but ending 1 square short of the triple word square. I don't like that. I think about does take an S on the end, so that's not good. And then the alternatives, well, look at the rack leaves. None of them are great. So I think, although I struggled with this rack, that urban wasn't too bad. Now, I played Jaw here for 26 and there were no big scores playable. Levo for 35, that's actually pretty good. Where's that happening? K8. Okay, coming down from the L of Elogize. Yeah, that would certainly have been better than my play. Vorti at C3. Pretty good, 32 points. And 33 points for Reavow. Oh, Reavow and Few through the second R of Ranchers. Pretty good. My play of Or, 23 points. Yeah, well, difficult to judge because we're now in an end game situation and Or leaves one in the bag. Toes for 52. Very difficult to say if this is the best game because it didn't guarantee me an out in 2. Greys for 12 fewer points, keeping VOT. Well, I'd have to see if there were 2 outs, but Toes may not be optimal. And finally, Vag was the only outplay, unfortunately wasn't blocked. So an interesting game, high scoring, a high winning margin, which is good. On the downside, a phony, possibly 2, and 1 phony let through by my opponent. But you're always working on the margins of your word knowledge as you try to make the best possible plays, and sometimes you cross the line. But it's important to stay in control emotionally and not allow phonies to sort of discombobulate your focus. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching that and got something out of it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.